Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody had a good week off. Relaxed a little bit. Got a chance to watch some volleyball for my daughter, which was a lot of fun. And now we're back at the grind and have 7 weeks in a row of it. So kind of what we worked on last week is going to kind of what's going to feed us through the next 7 weeks. And knock on wood, we are able to stay healthy because we know we've got a pretty good grind here for the next 7 weeks. So thought last week was a productive week with a lot of things that we did. Focusing more on us, K-State versus K-State, and very minimal on TCU, our next opponent, and we're working into that. Started yesterday, and so guys had a good bounce in their step yesterday, good practice yesterday, but we know we have to have a terrific week of preparation to play a really good TCU team Saturday.
Chris, you come off 2 losses in the bye week and still have lots to play for, as you said, over the next seven weeks here. A sense of urgency. What was the message to the team yesterday?
Just to get back to the fundamentals, get back to the grind, get back to work on what we can control, and that's your preparation for today. You just can't. You got to be where your feet are, and you got to control what you can control today, and that's the message that we're going to continue to send. I know that this is everybody wants to. Be a race to maturity and a race to the top. We know it's a process, and our guys know it's a process. I know this. We are getting better on both sides of the ball. I saw it over the last week or so of practice, how things are just a little bit more crisp. Now, will that translate to Saturday? I don't know, guys, but our guys are gaining more confidence.
You face some good defenses, but none is better at stopping the run than TCU. What makes them so good against the run?
They're very physical. I think that's the first thing you look at when you flip on the film is how physical Coach Patterson's defense plays. And then, they hit their fits. They know their assignment. They know where their help's at. They know if they're a lever player, a spill player. They do all the fundamental things right.
I know you mentioned going K-State versus K-State. Are there a couple of young players or a young player or two that stood out in terms of taking advantage of some of those reps?
I don't know if there's specific young player. All of our skill kids continue to improve. Those are the ones that have a better chance to see the field. Keenan Garber continues to get better. I don't know if Keenan, we still want to redshirt him, but he's a possibility to get some playing time. Chris Herron continues to improve. That's where we need to find some guys. Skilled position. Joe Irvin continues to improve. So I'm excited about the progress that all of our young players are making. The ability for those guys to go against some of the older guys in a highly competitive situation, I know is going to benefit them.
Malik's status still the same as yesterday?
He didn't practice yesterday, and I don't foresee him practicing today. They said there's an opportunity as we continue on mid to late week that he could do some things, but I knew that a couple weeks ago, and so it's up in the air right now.
Coach, you mentioned having better leverage on your tackle situations. How do you feel that progressed as the week went along?
Well, we hope it improved. We emphasized it. We did a lot of tackling things. It still has to be proof in the pudding on Saturday. That's the bottom line for us, and we know it, is we have to be much better tacklers. We've got to grab cloth and wait for the cavalry to arrive when it's a bigger body and stuff, but it's something that we are emphasizing on a daily basis.
I know you said you saw a big game coming from Phillip Brooks, but just what have you seen overall this season that makes you think he could be a top receiver?
Well, I don't want, and I told Phillip this when I met with him in the spring, I didn't want him to be known or just have the thing of, hey, you're a jet sweep guy and a return specialist, because I have very high expectations for Phillip, and it's a confidence thing with Phillip as far as knowing our offense, running good routes, coming up with big catches, coming up with catches in traffic. And I see that, gaining that confidence that he did, a week ago against Baylor, catching the ball in traffic and making some plays. I'm sure hopeful and plan on him, taking that and fueling him and having a really good rest of the season.
What stands out to you most about TCU on offense?
The backs are tremendous football players. For starters, they want to run the football. I mean, they're no different than a lot of schools have thought of, run the football to set up the play action pass. I think they're really good up front. And they have some really good skill kids on the outside playing a freshman quarterback. They'll mix in another guy, Delton, now and then as well. So I mean, they're well-rounded, but without question, we have to be able to control as much as we can their run game.
Coach Patterson made it sound like Delton would get some snaps out there. Do you feel like what you saw against Spencer Sanders at Oklahoma State gives you any prep for that, or are they different?
I don't know Delton probably as well as you guys do, so that's, on the limited snaps that we have seen him play this year, and just listening to talking to the GAs and guys around and stuff, that he's a really good football player. He makes things happen. He's a spark for him, and obviously I think he throws the ball better than probably people give him credit for, but he's so dangerous running the football, and we know that. But I fully expect to see both of them. We've seen both of them in multiple games this year. I don't know how much more that we'll see him than we will the freshman, but without question, we have to be ready for his package.
What has seen a freshman court? Like, what have you been impressed with in terms of
I think he's got really good poise. I really do. He was under a lot of duress against Iowa State and stuff, and he delivered the ball well. He made the correct reads on some of the RPOs. It's tough as a true freshman to play that position, and I'm familiar with him anyway through the recruiting process, and I think he's a terrific football player, and their future's really bright, and for him it's great because his future's now.
How much closer, if at all, is a guy like Logan Wilson to helping out in the secondary, maybe getting on the field?
He's close, and he's a guy that we have to make some decisions on, with the 4-game rule, because he's right at it right now. There's some things that Logan does really well, and we're excited about, but there's some things from an experience standpoint that we're still hopeful that he continues to grow and gain. And knock on wood, we've stayed relatively healthy at that spot with Kiwi, Walt, and AJ, that we haven't either had the ability or he hasn't been able to play as much, and he's done some really good things on special teams. So Logan's somebody that this week we're having a bigger evaluation on to see if we're going to continue on with him or are we going to potentially try to redshirt him.
You look at cut-ups of the TCU defense. What makes them so tough on third down? I think they're third in the country in forcing 3 and outs this season.
No easy throws. I think that's the biggest thing I'd say when it's third down for those guys is they're not, they don't void zones and give you easy throws. They're contesting every throw. They're physical on wide receivers, tight ends, backs. They do a really good job in the pass rush game. They always have done an exceptional job rushing the passer. But to convert and move the chains against these guys, you're going to have to make contested throws and contested catches.
Iowa State, I was noticing Iowa State was about the only team to have success running the ball against TCU, going back to the running game. They had 189 rushing yards against them in the last game. What was Iowa State able to do that made them more effective in running the ball?
I think they confused them probably a little bit with some formations and some motions and some formation in the boundary. The quarterback run hurt them a little bit. They had a week of a bye week, so I'm sure they shored a lot of their things up, just like we're trying to do as well. And some of it's matchups. Some of it maybe Iowa State found a matchup that they really liked. I don't know that, but Iowa State's a really good offensive football team too.
You faced Chuba Hubbard, and now you're going against Darius Anderson, a number 2 ranked running back in the Big 12. What makes Anderson special?
Because he can hit a home run, no question. I mean, he's beat you outside, beat you inside, beat you with speed, break tackles. And that's where we have to do a really good job of same thing we talked about, playing with great leverage and making open field tackles.
On the TCU defense, just how similar or different are they from what you saw with Baylor and Oklahoma State the first 2 weeks?
Probably a little different schematically, but still very aggressive. They're going to not sit back. They're going to be more of an attacking style of defense, but they do run more 4 down. They do run 3 down, but they've conventionally run more 4 down. Now they maybe switch to a little 3 down. We've been preparing for both, but they're an attacking style defense, and that's obviously when you have that you cause a lot of negative plays and disruption. The things that we have to avoid, that we've stubbed ourselves in the foot a little bit, is having those negative plays. We have to avoid those.
What was the bye week like for the offensive line, and what kind of progress have you seen there?
You know, it was the same as it's been. I mean, we're continuing to progress and learn our scheme, continuing to work some different blocking schemes, whether it's 3 down, 4 down, pressures, those things, working some of the guys that haven't played as much. You know, we went hard with the Duffs and Adlers and Rivas and Noah. Those guys played, you know, kind of scrimmaged a little bit against some of the other defensive guys that maybe didn't play quite as much, not just freshmen, but all the guys scrimmaged unless you've played significant amount in games, just to evaluate, continue to evaluate, because you know, I'm really concerned about the 7-week stretch we're going into, and we have to have more depth and more guys that we can count on.
On that first play out of the delay against Oklahoma State, Sammy Wheeler had a big catch, and then when I talked to Blaze Gammon last week, he just mentioned how blown away he had been by Wheeler's progress, considering he's only been at the position 7 months. So how have you felt about how he's come along at the tight end fullback position?
Yeah, he's made great leaps from August 1 to where we're at now. I think everybody saw some glimpses in the spring that we were really excited about, and probably even as coaches, we maybe had some unrealistic expectations for a kid that made it 3 or 4 practices in. That how far along would he be? I think the 2 open weeks have helped Sammy quite a bit. Learn our offense more. You know, learn how to block at the point of attack. All the things, you know, we don't just have conventional tight ends. They're on the ball, they're off the ball, they're flex, they're in the backfield, they're motioning, they're shifting. All those things that you kind of take for granted that somebody like Blaze just knows because he's played the position. And I've been really impressed with Sammy. You know, once again, a young player that's going to have an exceptional career at that position here.
After the game a couple weeks ago, you can sense that this team was really disappointed with the way the football that had been put on tape for the past couple weeks. So now with it being game week again, how fired up have you noticed this team for this upcoming opponent?
Well, obviously they're excited because it is game week. We talked about that, and you know, you're going to have disappointments in life. Boy, you got to be able to move forward. You know, you're going to have adversity in life. You know, you can't dwell on that. Well, you've got to attack the adversity and keep moving forward and grow from it. If you're not learning and growing from the adversity, then it's going to destroy you. And I'm convinced that our guys are learning. They are growing. Once again, will that mean we're going to have a way different outcome on Saturday? I don't know. I just know we're getting better on both sides of the ball, and the guys are believing in each other and have never stopped that.
The 2 bye weeks in a 4-week span is a bit unusual. I don't know, now that you're through with it, do you think it could be a good or bad thing?
Not, and I don't know how this will play out in years to come, or what it's been in the past. All those things. It's football's a rhythm sport, and you need to be able to play to continue to improve. And you know, you can only practice so much. Just from NCAA guidelines and rules and stuff, and you get better by competition, bottom line. I'm glad we had 2 bye weeks. I would have loved one in week 4 and week 10, or week 4 and week 9 or something, but to have them as close as they are back to back. Some guys, like a Sammy, could be a benefit for it. Other guys, you know, like Wayne and J-Mac, guys that are playing well but new to a position, those guys just need to continue to play games.